Hello, this is Nice Wander, and you're watching the NOWMAN Show Music Special. I'm wearing purple here in tribute to the great Prince. In this show, we're going to hear music from David Bowie's Piano Man. We're going to hear stories about George Harrison, the Wrecking Crew, the Monkees, and more, starting right now.
Carnival, into the festivity of the diversity. A celebration like a party atmosphere. Live life to the fullest and keep the mind clear. I know it sounds cliche to be the best that we can be. Open up your eyes, tell me what do you see? Now use common sense when it comes to having fun. Don't have to be a rocket scientist to know how this is done. And I say love. Surf like a Superman, build yourself a dream home, make some career plan, travel around the world, read a stimulating book, be passionate about each day, create a brand new look, open up to someone who is special to you, knowing that this one feels the same way too. And I say love. I did the right thing and had a lot of fun, and I say
England. Oh, Newcastle, Leicester, Lancaster, Liverpool, Manchester. Welcome to Hollywood.
Hello, this is Nice Wonder. I'm here at Politicon with John Fugelsang. John, thank you for being on the NOWMAN Show.
Thank you.
And this is also a show about entertainment as well. And I have to say, as a fan of the Beatles, and particularly the interview that you did with George Harrison on VH1, it was absolutely remarkable. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Thank you. Yeah, I was about to go to London to interview McCartney. We did a live town hall special for him. And they called me and said, you have to delay your departure because we need you in New York to talk to George Harrison and Ravi Shankar. And he hadn't toured since the 70s. And I was a huge George Harrison fan. I came from a rather religious background, and I admired how he took his Catholicism and used it to springboard into a deeper spiritual searching. And I knew he wouldn't want to talk about Beatles or Lennon. I knew he'd want to talk about God and what happens when you die in meditation. And so we talked about that, and he was comfortable. I was a terrible interviewer. I was awful, and but he liked the rawness of it, and I was terrible. I was very nervous. You know, you meet your idol and you're a blubbering twit, but the one thing I did right was I knew he'd want to talk about God and meditation and what happens when you die. He wound up staying for 4 hours. We gave him a guitar. He played 4 songs. It was his last televised performance, and he was diagnosed a couple of months later. They aired it, nobody watched, and then they recut it for an hour-long special. And so when he died, they aired it all day, and they put back all the stuff about God and meditation, what happens when you die. At one point he even said, this is all a bit lofty for VH1. But to this day, I met my idol, and I was kind of a blubbering twit. But as a result, it gave me a real gift, and I learned a lot and grew from the experience.
Yeah, and I'm a preacher's son myself, so I totally understand. And when he did My Sweet Lord, that really moved me at the time. I was a teenager, and I thought, there's something here. There's something special going on, not because of the religion, but because of some deeper understanding. So when I saw that interview, I really, really enjoyed it, really appreciated the full spectrum of what you brought to it. So
I think that generally in most of American media, when it comes to spirituality, we get atheists and we get guys screaming at women outside clinics. And I don't see a lot of interesting conversation about belief and faith and religion, the good and bad. We get black and whites, and you know the old expression, trust anyone seeking the truth, don't trust those who've claimed they found it. And that was what I got out of George. He was a real seeker, the most beautiful smile I've ever had. He laughed at my jokes, and it was a lovely day. And hey, later on, Scorsese used some of it in his documentary, so I can finally say I have been in a Martin Scorsese film.
wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Would you call that atonal music?
That was a little atonal.
Yeah.
That was definitely a little atonal.
I love avant-garde. Avant-garde is an underrated style of music in my view.
Well, a lot of people, I think, have abused it and maybe don't do it too well, and they use it as an excuse for not having studied their basics. So that gets a bad name. But like any tonal music, if you've done a lot of hard work, you can make a lot of beautiful music with it, such as Alban Berg and Stravinsky and Bartók. It's endless, you know.
Yeah, it is endless. Yeah, and most people don't know about that, which I think it's
It's just too above the normal intellectual and aesthetic level of the planet, because they're used to hearing a simpler series of chords that are tonal. I can understand that.
Yeah, I can understand. Yeah, definitely. Now, is there any moment of a concert or a certain concert playing live that really stands out in your mind?
No. There have been hundreds that have been very rewarding. There's some funny ones. In 2000, we were playing Glastonbury, and that's in England. There was 100,000 kids there. And this was with David Bowie. And Willie Nelson had just played before us, and we were the sort of closing act after 3 days of a festival. It was very rainy there. And we're ready to walk on stage, and David looks out there. I suspect he got nervous. And he said, go out there and warm up the show for me, Mike. He said, go play some piano by yourself for 5 minutes, then we'll come join you. And I went out there, and the audience was looking, who's this guy, you know? I played I think I played... Greensleeves. And I did that for 5 minutes, and then the band came out. But it was nerve-wracking, especially since when I went on the stage, my keyboards were not working. So every tech guy in the place was running around, wiring, fixing. The volume was off. So they missed the most simple thing. So I was pretty nervous waiting before I even played to get a sound. So it's good that he actually sent me out because we were able to get things working. So he did that a few times over the years with me, maybe 3. And that was a great experience. There was some smaller ones playing in a jazz club in Catalina Bar and Grill. There was a great French pianist who was a very short fella. He was, his name is Michel Petrucciani. He was a great jazz pianist. And I went to see him play, this is 20 years ago, and there's some of the jazz radio promoters there and disc jockeys, and there's no Michel Petrucciani showing up. He calls and his plane that just landed in LAX, so now people are going to wait another hour for him. So they asked me to play the first set for him, and I played with his band, no rehearsal. It was amazing. And then he got there, he did the second set. The next day, the reviewer gave us equal reviews. He said they were both great, and it was just one of these wacko things that you, out of nowhere, you just start playing, and I was there and made it enjoyable for the audience, and I love that.
That's fantastic. Do you like playing small venues?
Oh, I love it. Some of my best playing has been 3 people in the jazz club. And as I was saying before, I was so brainwashed with the jazz music that I studied for 8 hours a day for 20, 30 years, that when I was playing with Bowie, sometimes I'd be out in these big arenas wishing I was playing in a jazz club, until I kind of woke up and said, you got to enjoy each moment. They're different experiences. I'll get to do the other, and this is very unusual. So some humility set in somewhere in the mid-90s regarding that.
Fantastic. I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
Here are a couple of segments where Christian Nesmith and Denny Tedesco talk about their fathers. Hello, this is Nice Wonder of the NOWMAN Show, and continuing the conversation with producer-director Denny Tedesco. Denny, your father, of course, was the renowned session musician Tommy Tedesco, played on thousands of records. And in the film, there's a quote that I thought was outstanding. I'd like to get your response to that. I studied common sense more than I did guitar.
Basically, he said that at a seminar at actually a Musicians Institute. And what he was telling the kids is said, you could be the greatest guitar player, you could be the brilliant, but it doesn't mean you're going to keep going, because you got to watch what you do. You got to have common sense of when to play, what to play, when to say something, when not to say something. There's so much involved. He could read a room like no one. I mean, he could walk in and just know what the vibe was, when to be cool, or he could, work a session really well. And he said, "Listen, I play for smiles." And what he meant was, I'm getting paid. You give me a piece of music. You want me to do something, I will play it. If I change it up because I think it'll be better this way, if he's not smiling, I got to go back to a different way. Until he smiles, I keep playing, because you're there. You got to, you just got to be there and do whatever that guy wants. Because don't forget, he might think creatively, it's not right what that guy's given me to do, but you know what? He's paying the bill. And it goes back to like Snuff Garrett. He knows those producers. They know what they want. You just do what they want. The great story of, there's nothing to do with Lalo Schifrin, the great, great Lalo Schifrin. Says to the dad, he says, "Hey, Tommy, we need you to do some flamenco guitar." Okay. And if you know, he's brilliant on the Spanish guitar. He said, "All right, do you want this?" He plays his flying up and down the thing of the fretboard. He says, "Or do you want the Di Concenzo style?" He says, "What's the Di Concenzo style?" And now Lalo's from Argentina, but well, the Di Concenzo style is plays it and slaps, and he's slapping the his body of the guitar. And the guy says, Lalo says, "Do the Di Concenzo style." Okay. And then he tells the kids, he says, "Di Concenzo is a bricklayer from Niagara Falls, New York." He says, "He doesn't play guitar." But he's an expert. Dad's an expert. He's got to know what he's talking about.
So he's from Niagara Falls, New York. That's
right. Dad's from Niagara Falls. He was a BSer. Those guys could get, I think they got towards the end, it was like, what could we pull off? I mean, it was just, you know, the things that they would do. And they would have fun.
Yes.
But their job was, you know, even the worst of times, they still had fun.
And that's the beautiful thing about music, is that you're together with other people. I'm sure that the camaraderie must have just been absolutely amazing. And
Yeah. You know, even when he retired, and that was one of the things was why I made this film. At 62, he had a stroke.
Yeah.
And then he had the cancer a couple years later. But what killed me was at 62, before the stroke, he was playing better than he ever played.
Wow.
And it was driving me crazy. It didn't drive him crazy. He understood the business. He knows his time is come and gone. At that point in life, he's getting calls for the things that reading with John Williams or James Horner or gut string or mandolin, whatever, Godfather 3. And that's when he would be called. But he missed being around. I think that's what they all miss. But what drove me crazy is the creativity at that age was so much better than at 25.
Yes.
He had the chops. He had everything going for
Yes.
himself. And, you know, and I think that was my frustration to maybe why I made the film.
And you wanted to create a time capsule to share with others as
Yeah,
well
no one
as
knew
something
about this.
personal.
No one knew about these guys. And, you know, the personal side of the story, which you'll find out in the film like you've seen, it was never going to be a personal side from my point of view. It was about these guys, and someone said, why are you doing it? Why are you cutting it like this? I said, what do you mean? He said, you have an insight that none of us have as editors. You are not participating. And I did not want to be a part of this film. And you only see me at the beginning, not see me, you hear my voice.
Yeah.
And it was about the story of my father and his friends, the Wrecking Crew, the extended family. But it's really about this group.
And speaking of extended family, here's a great clip, and I don't think there can be a greater compliment than a fellow musician.
We're at Fox, recording the music for these 4 segments of MASH. And in one of the titles, he wrote something in the ledger lines on the bass clef, which has always been somewhat of my weakness in reading ledger line notes. And I had rehearsals with Benny about it, and so I had problems with it, but I told him not to worry about it. During the rehearsal, we get to this one segment, this one title, and we're playing, and I get to this part that bothers me, and I sort of kind of flub it in a way. And Benny says, Chuck, you okay? I said, Benny, don't worry about it, it's okay. Blah, blah, blah. It's the first time that Tommy I worked with Tommy. So the red light goes on. I know that if there's a mistake made, they got to stop the film, and they got to stop the recording and go back, because we're still in tape in those days. So we start recording it, we get to this part, and I make a mistake. I flub it. I'm going, damn it. Tommy goes, now I knew who he was. Wow, I'm glad that somebody else made a mistake rather than me. Run it back. Oh, and they say, Tommy, you all right? Tommy said, somebody else had a problem with this. Run the tape back, start it again, we get to the same place, and I make a mistake. And he turns to me and he says, that's the last time. Then I realized that he's doing me a favor. He's hearing me mess it up. And he did this twice and put it on him. So the third time we go back to play this, when we get to that part, it's only like a 1-bar or 2-bar phrase. I just don't play. Now I'm scared to death. So we finish the track, and of course before they excuse the orchestra, they check the music with the film. And so once we're finished, I'm just sitting there like this, and Tommy, he's sitting right next to me, he touches me like this, and he says, so well, obviously that means that if you can't do it, don't do it. We listened to him, when they played it back, Denny, I heard the bass. I didn't play it, but I heard the part. And so I'm sitting there going, and Benny's looking at me going, we go to the break room. And he says, man, I'm Tedesco, Tom Tedesco. He says, you know, it's great to work with you. I heard a lot about you. He looked at me and he said, every bass clef instrument in this orchestra has that part. Every last one of them. So the first time that you missed it, The second time around, it's up to you to decide if you want to play it. Did your ego want to play it? He said, you didn't even have to play it. As it is, we heard the bass. And that way, we didn't have tracks. At the most, it could have been 8 tracks, or 4 with the rhythm section. There's no way he's going to know that you didn't play it. You know, and he says, don't get scared. He says, fear does that. Thanks for saving me. He said, no problem at all, man, no problem at all. You know, you're a good player, you're here for a reason, because it's a first call band. He says, just don't be afraid of this shit. You know, and I remember I got in my car going back home. I said, what a nice gesture from a real nice guy to do that for me. You know, because I've seen other people really come down hard on other musicians, especially if they were new. But it's just so kind. So I tell that story with a lot of love.
Wow. What a great story.
Yeah, that was one of those stories I found out recently.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, that's just a few months ago. And what's amazing is his reputation is why we got this thing made, because he's so giving. There was only a couple people that helped him with break-in. Bob Bain was one of the great guitar players that helped him. But you know, he was a defender of musicians. I mean, there were many a time musicians would say, you have no idea what your dad did for me. You know, he stuck up for me, and you know, and that's what I'm most proud of the film.
That's fantastic. And well, our time is out. It's been great. How can people learn more about you and the film and get to music and all of the above?
You could always go to wreckingcrewfilm.com. You could always, obviously, I have the DVD. We ended up branding everything but underwear. But if you want it, I can make it. We came out with the soundtrack on CD, and we came up with the LP. This wonderful book, though, with Sound Explosion, which is Ken Sharp, one of the great writers today.
Wow.
It's a
Fantastic book, yeah.
And no, I'm really thrilled, and I think we're going to give the folks a discount from. We put up a code word that they can use, that only they can use to get that percentage.
That's fantastic.
But no, it's fabulous. I just want people to see and hear these stories and find other stories. Let them tell other stories. Everybody should find out the past.
That's right. Thank you so much, Denny. Denny Tedesco, and this is Nice Wonder, and you've been watching The NOWMAN Show. And a question for you, Christian. I know you've played on tour with Peters from the Bangles.
Debbie Peterson.
Debbie Peterson from the Bangles. Mm-hmm. You've played with Nick Menza of Megadeth.
I've done some work with him. I haven't. Yeah. Okay.
And also King's X.
Doug Pennick.
Doug Pennick.
Just saw him the other day.
And you went on a reunion tour of the Monkees.
I did. 3 of them, actually.
3 of them, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
The last 3, yeah.
The last 3, which were in what years?
What was that? 14 and 15. I think three legs. 2014 and 2015, there were 3 legs over that period of time.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. So you were with your dad, Michael Nesmith, Mickey Dolenz,
and Peter
Tork.
Yeah.
So what was, do you have a story from that experience that stands out in your mind?
The number one thing that I took away from that is that it was the first time that I had ever played live with my dad.
Wow.
In my entire life.
Wow.
So that first night that we went out, hit the stage, and it was great crowds. You know, we were playing the big theaters, and the crowds were going crazy. But, you know, I was in the backup band, you know, just session player, which I love to do. But to, you know, look across the stage and, you know, how you doing, Pop? You know, it was a wonderful experience. It was also nice to, because we were on the same tour bus. There was so many of us out there on tour that we actually wound up having 3 tour buses. And my sister and brother worked. My brother actually worked on the last tour. So it was my dad and me and my sister and my brother and Cersei all on the same tour bus. So that one bus happened to be family, and there was
the family bus.
It really was the family bus, and there was an opportunity to get so much closer, not only to my siblings but to my dad as well, because we had the opportunity to run around the world as peers. which was really, really fun. And we'd never done that before. And I think that it brought a wonderful facet to our relationship, and it was really, really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking.
My pleasure. This is Nice Wonder, and you're watching The NOWMAN Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Commons, Cumbia del Sol.
Este sol, ayer timbalera, esta es la cumbia del sol. Ayer timbalera, baila conmigo este sol. Ayer timbalera, esta es la cumbia del sol. La cumbia del sol, el horizonte se va a aclarar y todo el mundo quiere bailar. La cumbia del sol. Baila conmigo este sol. Timbalera, esta es la cumbia del sol. Timbalera, baila conmigo este sol. Timbalera, esta es la cumbia del sol. Esta es la cumbia del sol. El horizonte se va a aclarar y todo el mundo quiere bailar. Pues la cumbia del sol. When I'm feeling down and I need to live, nice thoughts make me wonder if you catch my drift. A smile always comes to my face when I think about a favorite place. When all of my work for the day is done, I imagine I'm lying in the sun and it's always summer in my